5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now it's time for As the Heel Turns with Goz, Vinny, Zach By, and the Tig Man.
It is another edition of As the Heel Turns. Goz here with you, Zach By, the Tig Man, Vinny, all back with you here, and it's a special edition. It's the top 5 Royal Rumbles of all time. The Rumble coming up this weekend. The Rumble. Remember the Rumble in San Antonio. We're going to give you our top 5 list, the best Rumbles of all time. I'm going to start with my number 5. Now, everyone's going to have different ways to judge their list, whether it's the quality of the match, the quality of the pay-per-view, the quality of the people in it, or maybe how you felt when the match ended itself. This one, for me, I remember very well. Senior year in high school. Actually, I should say junior year in high school now. Man, I'm getting old. Junior year in high school. Big party at the Kozlowski House back in central New York. Board was out. Money was flying around. The year 2007. There was one kid sitting in my house who called The Undertaker was going to win. And everyone thought, what are you, out of your mind? Like, Taker's, come on, he's old. He's not going to win. And Taker and Michaels at the end, The Undertaker wins his first one. He wins a Royal Rumble. The lights go off. I have The Undertaker's win at 2007 as number 5 on my list.
I like it. That is not on my list. I remember that event. And I, like most of you guys, didn't think that Undertaker would ever be used to win a Rumble because he was kind of that guy who held his own place. We've talked about this in the last couple podcasts.
He didn't need it.
He didn't need it. And that's why I think the company felt a lot of times they didn't feel like they needed to put him over because he held his own. He was solidified in his own spot. But he got doubly put over and just another feather in his career.
And I look at that Rumble especially, and I see why they did it with Taker. Taker really wasn't in title matches. I mean, he had a feud with JBL in 2004, but he really wasn't in title matches after he became the Dead Man until Batista at Mania 23. So they needed something, but they didn't really. Still, that was a pretty good Rumble, though. Ric Flair number 1.
That's right, Ric Flair number. Maybe for me, and I don't know how your guys' list is going to go on. Either Tigman or Vinny will go next, whichever way. Like, that for me is just an emotional one, because I remember my friends being there, and when we were with a bunch of guys, and they're talking crap to each other. I'll keep it clean for the early part of the podcast. When they're just talking smack and this guy's rooting for that guy and that guy says he sucks, you remember like guys going at it, and especially at the end when the guy finally won the cash, celebrating like he was the Undertaker because he won all the cash from everybody else. That's why that one sticks out to me.
And that was in San Antonio, so they dumped Michaels over in San Antonio. That was
10
a pretty
years
brave
later,
move.
Taker's back in the Rumble. We'll see if he maybe wins again.
In San Antonio.
Who wants to go next? Tig, you got your number 5?
Yeah, we'll do it. That didn't make my list, but that is a great one. Great, and like you say, memories. You know that comes into be a factor here when you
No
put
doubt.
this list together.
It's all subjective.
Memories,
it's your list,
right? Exactly. It may not have been the best match. It may just hold some kind of special meaning for you. Interestingly enough, I put number 5. I'm number 5 here on my list. The very first Rumble, 1988. I'm showing my age.
Throwback.
The old man here. USA Network. I remember watching it clear as day. This was before.
That's right. It wasn't pay-per-view.
It wasn't pay-per-view.
The first one wasn't.
And Hacksaw Jim Duggan in there. It was Hacksaw, One Man Gang, and Dino Bravo in the end.
Yes.
Dino gets eliminated. Then it's One Man Gang with Hacksaw up against the ropes. He runs over. Hacksaw pulls the rope down. One Man Gang goes over. Hacksaw wins it. It was just because it was the first one, and it holds memories for me being on USA Network and all that stuff. I had to place it on the list, so I put it at number 5.
Only a 20-man match that year, too.
Yeah,
That's
there was
right.
only 20
That's right.
men.
20
Yep.
men. You know, this past year, and this is going to be like a humble brag here, but I had a chance to sit down with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and I'm sitting across the table from him, and I'm kind of going through this stuff, a couple things from his career, and I'm like, you know, you were in the first Rumble, and you eliminated One Man Gang for, you know, to win the first ever Rumble, and he's like, damn, you remember that? And I'm like, I said, wait, hold on. It was the first ever Rumble. Yeah. Of course we know. You are honored. You are a pilgrim.
Now, of course, he'll never win another Royal Rumble again.
Absolutely not.
But Cops Coliseum, Hamilton, Ontario. That's
Look
where
at
that was.
Look at you.
No, that didn't make anybody else's list.
That was number 6. I fought back and forth on mine between
okay.
either the first Rumble or the 07 Rumble. I'm like, I should take it. I don't know, man. Because the Rumble for me is my favorite pay-per-view of any of them.
Yeah,
That's
me
my
too, guys.
favorite
Me
one.
too.
And like that one should. It's like Babe Ruth being on the great list of baseball players of all time. I felt like I
An
gotta put that
obligation,
on,
like it
right.
was like sacrilege not to put it
missed,
on there.
Barely missed my
If we're
list.
judging that on the card, though, which we're not judging any of the Rumbles on the whole card. That card was atrocious.
Yeah.
Look at some of the other. I'm just saying. I don't even know some of the names.
Hey, it was on basic cable.
That's right. The USA Network. Was Chuck Norris in there?
Is
Walker,
that why
Texas Ranger?
Is that why Raw's the same?
All right, who wants to go next with number 5? Zach or Vinny?
yeah,
We're gonna go clockwise here? Is that what that
we
is?
should do it that way. I
Yeah,
think.
number 5 on my list. And again, I feel like these pre-statements, these preamble statements before you give, it's almost like you like giving a disclaimer. But I'll say this. Guys, you said the word when you first started explaining yours. It's moments, how it touches you in that moment. And the most impressionable age for me growing up watching wrestling was ages 7, 8, and 9. And it was just larger than life to me at the time. And that happened to be the year. And Vinny, I know you're going to jump down my shit on this, but it happened to be the year 1994. And
Diesel.
I look back now, this is one of the most lackluster substance rumbles that there probably has been. I mean, really, it was a lot of clunkiness, it wasn't smooth. There wasn't a lot of star power in it.
Not a great time for wrestling,
No,
if
and
I
it
recall.
wasn't.
I was going to house shows that were pretty empty.
And especially WWF at that time, because
Yeah.
they started to get ransacked by WCW.
Yep.
So you didn't see some of the mainstays that you had seen in previous years. But at that time, to a young Zach By, when I saw Diesel come down there and he eliminated 7 consecutive guys, it's still to this day, and I know this is going to be like I'm swallowing my boogers here, but it makes my hair stand up, and it left such an impression on me from that point forward because of that moment. And again, I know, Vinny, you're not a Kevin Nash guy, and I know a lot of people think that he's overrated, and he might be, but it made such an impression on me. He became my favorite wrestler from that point moving forward.
He wasn't overrated, not in 94.
And for the Rumble itself, why it makes my top 5 was the finish and the moment that Bret Hart and Lex Luger both go over the ropes at the same time. They don't have a camera angle of their feet ever touching first or second, and it was just like an incredible finish. I was left with so much like. There was no closure. It was like, what's going to happen? Who's going to WrestleMania 10? Who's going to fight Yokozuna? And they end up doing the coin flip and whatnot along the road. But that was like a first cliffhanging wrestling moment for me.
See, with 94, the other funny thing, I just heard a good story about the 94 Rumble, and you guys all are going to know exactly where I heard it from, but I will not mention that because this is As the Heel
that's
Turns.
right. A better podcast.
No,
right.
Yeah,
No,
we
worse.
are. We
Yes,
are.
right.
Yeah, get it right, guys. But they had said the reason why they didn't really go that long with Luger and Brett, the people would have turned so hard on Luger, and
Why?
they didn't want because the fans, when it was Luger alone, go Luger. Yep, you had Brett in there.
And Brett was over, man. When
Brett was
94,
over.
that was the Hitman's time in WWF.
He was so over. If they had put Luger in there for even 2 minutes with Brett, oh my God, they would have killed him. They would have just killed him dead right there.
Well, he's clunky. He can't wrestle. His
No.
body, his character was great, and all that was over at the time. Remember the Lex Express?
But-
Who could forget the Lex?
The
Express?
Lex Express.
And you know,
was great.
I want to hit on that Lex Express because I thought about the 94. I actually went back and watched the 94 Rumble because I'm like, I gotta
I
put
just
this.
watched that Saturday.
Right, I gotta put this on my list somewhere, and I didn't end up putting it on my list because you kind of touched on it a little bit, Zach. It's not the greatest Rumble. Like the Rumble itself, and we'll probably touch on this throughout the podcast. It's changed. Like they set up the spot so everyone sees it. You see all the eliminations.
Correct.
94 it just felt different. But, like, you cover college basketball for a living. You see a great buzzer beater come tournament time, you hope the team that makes the game-winning shot has a great run in the tournament.
Right.
That's what that Rumble felt like to me. A team who made a great buzzer beater shot, and then you'd hope for them to finish it, and that Luger, like, coin flip, and Why couldn't you just both put them in the title match? Like, the end result of that wasn't great, but the Rumble itself and the finish was great.
It was great,
Yeah.
and it's about the moment. And you're right, man. That event itself has changed so much because in the past, guys would get eliminated, and oftentimes you wouldn't even hear the announcer even reference that he was gone.
Right.
I mean, guys would tumble over the top rope, and it wasn't a high spot. It didn't get mentioned. And guys said high spots weren't even really built in. Now everything is, over the top in a good way because they've changed for the better, I believe. They've just, I think it's safe to say that they just changed. One isn't necessarily better or worse than how they used to do it. They just changed, just like everything else.
And Diesel, I want to say, when I was watching that, I can't remember who one of the guys was that he was about to eliminate. Maybe Doink. But man, was Diesel hitting snug. He was stiff. Wow, those punches. I mean, I understand wrestling is all staged, and it's not fake, but staged. Man, Diesel really looked like he was hurting them. I'm just saying.
And that's and especially when when first came into WWF, that's how he wrestled.
Well, he was green. I will say that, but you know what? Either way, Diesel.
He had been around long enough by that point, though.
Right.
I mean, he was just. I think
Vinny
he was new in the
Vegas,
company.
Oz.
Yeah, right.
I always liked him as Oz. Yeah.
I liked him in Ninja Turtles, but what
That's
the
right. He
hell?
was Super Shredder, right?
Oz is underrated.
All right, number 5 for me. Yet again, I mean, this one, it's got moments in it that really tug at my heartstrings. Mainly because there are a couple names in it that we have sadly lost, one of them recently. But beyond that, we got to start off the match with the same two that the year prior had end. And it was just the end of this Rumble. 2008 is my number 5.
Okay, so that's Michaels and Taker starting off, right?
Yes, it is. And the reason I've got this, quite simply, it's just Madison Square Garden. The feel, the vibe of the whole match with Taker and Michaels going quite some time. For Taker at that age to go from number 1, he didn't get eliminated until like mid-20 entrant came in. He didn't need to do that, but it was cool to see him and Michaels and all the other names that were in there. Kennedy, you had the legends. You had Roddy Piper, Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah, that's right.
Some nostalgia there. Triple H, and then at the end, to hear John Cena's music, he probably hasn't gotten a pop since.
That's a great point. That may be the loudest Cena ovation of his entire career.
It's one of the loudest I've ever heard at the Garden.
Right.
I mean, short of Triple H 02, but no, that match, there's just something about it. I have a warm spot in my heart for that match. I watch it every single year. As I will also mention, every one of my Rumbles on this list I watch every year.
Ooh, just like a good Christmas movie for you.
Yeah.
Just swinging it back into the rotation. I love it.
I start off at around Christmas. Every week I watch one, and I get to about the Rumble when I get down there.
Go
ahead. No, go ahead, Zach.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Triple H came in at 29.
Yes, he did.
In that Rumble.
Yes, he did.
And I thought it was such a cool thing. Cena's music hits, but when he comes out, he doesn't lift his head up.
Nope.
He keeps his head down,
Right.
and he had the baseball cap, and you couldn't see. And wrestling has pulled shit like this in the past, and you're not exactly sure. Like, okay, I know that's Cena, but is it Cena? And then he looks up with
that
that
little
big,
smirk.
genuine smile. It was like a genuine smile. I was like, yeah, bitch, I'm back. And the place is just jumping.
No one thought he was coming back.
No, he was so early from the pectoral
Right.
tear.
3 months. 3 months.
At this time in wrestling, everyone thought they knew everything. Like, oh, the internet's hot now. Social media is on its way up. And you can't keep a secret. Oh, Cena's going to be off. We'll wait for him for Mania or something. It is the genuine shock moment that you rarely don't get now in wrestling. And just one real question, and I already forgot this, and I feel bad for not remembering this.
By the way, he wouldn't have even gotten back in Mania if he had healed like he was supposed to.
Right. In that 2008 Rumble, is that the first time they start going back to the legends? When they really, like there was a time...
I think,
I
right
think you're right.
Right around there.
They've done a few. Like, I mean, they did Honky Tonk in 01, but they never really did a couple until then. Because then the next year, he had Goldust, RVD returned.
By the way, on that card, Ric Flair fought MVP in a career-ending match.
Yes.
Like, what the hell? You're like,
Jake, that's your man!
Yeah.
Flair, he's fighting MVP at the Rumble! What's going on?
In a career-ending match.
The Garden went nuts, though, when he won. That opened up the show.
What a push that MVP might have got. He's wrestling Flair to career ender. My God.
By God, that's on my list. 2008.
My God, it is.
Yes, 2008. And just another thing I want to add into that. There's a cool moment at the end of that when the last three are Batista, Triple H, and Cena, and Batista looks at both of them and he sticks both double thumbs up, and then he transitioned to him down.
Oh yeah.
And then like the crowd like kind of reacts, and then Cena gives him the you can't see me double, and then Triple H gives the double suck it to the both of them, and then they all collide. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, that was pretty
Very cool stuff there. We're going to go on to number 4 on our list. I'm interested to see where this one, if it ends up on anybody's list here, is another one from the 2000s. It is the year 2001.
By God.
It's on your list?
By God, guys!
2001 is the Rumble that, if I'm not mistaken, Stone Cold Steve Austin wins.
Yes.
But it's not really Stone Cold that's the storyline in this Rumble. And that's why sometimes people like myself, who has it on their list, forgets if Austin won, because this was really about Kane. Kane has 11 eliminations in this. There's the spot where the honky tonk man comes back. And he's, playing the thing, doing the whole honky tonk, and Kane just takes it and smashes it over his head.
Yes.
And then there's a spot with Drew Carey, who's just doing his Drew Carey thing, and Kane comes out to carry
money.
That's right.
Offering money.
Drew Carey looked fat in that, by the way.
He did.
I remember a line from Lawler like, if Kane kills him, we got to find out his blood type. I think it's Ragu.
And it's also one of these Rumbles that, like, the hardcore weapons are used. So, there's old school traditional Rumbles.
Yeah.
You got trash things going on. You got kendo stick. It's just not a typical Rumble. It's
Raven
wild.
got a bowling ball to the nuts.
Right. How do you get a bowling ball to the nuts in the 01 Rumble?
How do you work that? I'm just saying. I mean, is he wearing a cup? Even so, it's still kind of hurt.
The 01 Rumble, maybe like entertainment factor wise, one of the most entertaining Rumbles for non-wrestling like junkies like us. If you had to show a casual fan a Rumble, that would be the one I would say, like, look at this nonsense going on in the ring right now.
And I don't think Kane was ever acknowledged for breaking the record at the time. Like it was like, no, he was like going on this crazy run and he was this wrecking ball. But I don't think they ever actually in the moment were like, hey, Kane's just broke the record for most eliminations. I think that was like retroactive. They were like, oh yeah, Kane's like the all-time leader in that category.
Well, I
may be wrong, but I don't think
you're right. You're right.
I think it was still Diesel's record at that point, and I have a feeling because WCW was still afloat then, they may not have wanted to mention Diesel. Maybe that's my thought.
Not a bad thought.
If you compare the Reigns, which 2 years ago now, he had the 12 eliminations, and the Kane 11 eliminations, they're so different.
Oh, my God.
The Shield's helping Reigns break
Definitely.
the record. Like, it's just not the same Rumble performance. You could argue that Kane had the most single dominant Rumble performance.
That's like Bonds breaking the record on steroids. Like, we got it. We got it.
Did you want to add anything, Vinny, to that Rumble? Because I know it was on your list.
That Rumble, to me, yet again, it's one of those other ones that stands out. I remember going when I was like, I want to say 12 years old. I didn't see it live. Remember going to Hollywood Video, and I'm like, oh my
Love
God,
Hollywood Video.
they've got wrestling.
And it was like on the bottom.
Yeah.
Like you had to like creep down to it.
I'm short, so I mean, I don't really have to deal with that. Unlike you, Andre the Giant. But
I'll just say, in my town, this is just a quick anecdote. In my town, there was a little movie shop called Movie Time, and it was connected to a little grocery store that was called the Grand Union in Scotia. And Movie Time went out of business, and I worked for whoever would pay me for months consecutively when I was 12 and 13 years old. And with every single dollar, I went to that Movie Time because they were selling all their movies. And I bought over 20 VHSs from Movie Time. I still have them all.
The old Coliseum videos?
Oh, yeah, baby.
I did that Video World by my house. It literally right across the street from my house. I would sit there and beg my mom and dad every day, come on, the 97 Rumble. It's only $2. It's only $2.
It's right across the street. That's like a meth dealer. Like, hey, come out here.
Right. And
I got what you need.
I remember my spot when our grandma would take us off to the Blockbuster or whatever, and where the wrestling tapes were set up in that Blockbuster was far to the left. And to the left of that was the UFC at the time, where people thought it was like a blood
that's
sport.
right, yeah.
And to the left of the UFC was porn. So like that's what it was.
It's like a gradual.
UFC was right next to
that
porn.
slippery slope.
And you're just thinking like 9, like why is there a carpet over the door? Like, what is going on in that?
Thomas, you're getting too close.
Right.
SummerSlam this year, Summer Sluts next year. Keep on going to the left.
Tig, I hope a good porn's not on your list at number 4, but go ahead. What are you going to say?
Well, I got to get
Debbie
my
does
video
Dallas.
store in.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
For me, it was Video Forum, and they would have the curtain up where you knew you couldn't go into the area
Right.
beyond
Yeah,
the
I remember
curtain
those, yep.
section.
But they had all those Coliseum videos, just like Vinny was talking. I get excited to see all these and be like, "What am I going to rent?" You know, going through them all. But video stores are now extinct.
That's
I
right.
I know.
understand. Well, I believe they are going to come back one day.
Really?
I really do. I think one day they. I'm hoping.
I'll invest in it.
Wow.
Tig, I'll invest in it with you if
Will
you
you?
want.
All
Yeah,
right.
we'll be like a modern day Facebook.
Is it gonna be? Is it gonna be like in the hipster section of Albany?
Could be. Number 4 on my list, I go to the Summit in Houston for the very second
Houston.
Royal Rumble, Rumble 89. Big John Studd
Big John stuff.
wins the Rumble, but that isn't the highlight. The highlight of this is Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage in the Rumble. Hogan accidentally throws Savage over the ropes when he throws Bad News Brown over. And this is the start of the feud with Savage and Hogan. You know,
right.
They throw him over, then in the backstage area, they're fighting with each other and arguing.
that was an early preview.
Randy
So-
was already quite jealous at that point because Hogan had grabbed Elizabeth's ass
Exactly.
at Survivor Series.
Oh.
They were showing the videos, and Savage was claiming that Hogan was trying to pick up Liz.
jealous eyes, Hogan.
Yes, the jealous eye.
jealous eyes.
But that stands out in my mind growing up, watching it, and just being like, oh my God, he just threw Savage over, and what's going to happen here? Just a fond memory of the second Royal Rumble,
I
Rumble
love that.
89.
I remember being young and rating my Uncle Lou's VHSs.
Lou
and that
Albano?
was- and I can't do Lou Albano. Wish my uncle was Lou Albano. All
Hey
right.
kid, they're a little laced with vodka, but don't you worry about it. Hey, I got a rubber band in my cheek.
Wait, comparing 88 to 89 real quick, it feels like 89 is really the first Rumble. Not to get anything away from 88, but like that's storytelling 101. Like the
Yeah,
classic
yeah.
Hogan Savage setting up for Mania and the rivalry. Like that is how the Rumble should be every year. And that's the first year we're like, oh, we figured something out. Like this has got to be our marquee
I feel like they
event.
stumbled upon it in '88. Like, oh shit, this is
Yes.
this is a thing.
And it was more like just a USA Network special.
right.
You almost didn't know that it was going to become the annual big thing that it was in an annual pay-per-view event. So
Yep, yeah.
I agree with you guys on that.
All right, number 4 on my list is the 1997 Royal Rumble, and we were just talking about runs with Kane and Diesel. Austin goes on a run in this Royal Rumble, and he has the awesome run-in with the Hitman, and they had just wrestled at Survivor Series 96 when Brett came back in his first match after losing to Michaels at 12 in Anaheim, and and Austin is just wrecking ass one after another, throwing guys, and actually at one point he is getting down and doing push-ups to get some energy out. He's sitting up in the turnbuckle and checking his watch, and then the music hits. Dun, 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 dun. And he just
I
puts
love that.
both hands on the top of his head and like looks around and like this paranoia, like, oh man, here we go again. I love that Rumble. And then of course Austin cheats to win. He gets eliminated by Brett, comes back in and eliminates Brett.
How apropos. I did say by God, and we can move to you guys right after this because that is also my number 4.
Oh, you don't want to add anything to that?
I do want to add to it because
Okay.
there's one moment in that match I literally had to rewind and watch again. Jerry Lawler's music hits. McMahon's like, "You're in the Rumble!" And he gets in, knocked out, thrown over the rope, hits his head. Hey, McMahon, what happened?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. right.
You were
know he was
eliminated.
in the
I didn't
Rumble.
even. He's like, you were eliminated.
That's right.
I was in the Rumble? I wasn't
right.
eliminated. I would have won it.
Totally ignored it. That was
I can't even make up these segues because my biggest criticism of the 97 Rumble is the same reason I kind of like the 06 Rumble.
It's apropos, though, 97 seeing as well. Remember the Alamo.
Right.
Just saying. Remember
Absolutely.
the Rumble.
See, my number 3 is 06, and it's kind of the exact opposite of what happened in 97. So, again, age, when you're impressionable, what is going on in your life at the time. I remember the 97 Rumble and being a young kid thinking, hey, That's not fair. Austin cheated. Like, he did that. No, he should. Like, you're a kid. Like, you saw him cheat.
There's right and wrong.
Right. There's right and wrong. So you're thinking, like, hey, I kind of like him, but if I was 13 at the time, I would have thought he was the coolest thing ever. But being 7 years old, you don't like that. And at that same time in the 90s, staying up and watching WCW, the cruiserweights were always on in first.
Oh, you and your cruiserweights.
So my cruiserweight, my guy, one of my the favorite wrestler of all time for me still, I've never jumped off the bandwagon, is my boy Rey Mysterio.
The 619.
619. Watching cruiserweight action.
Booyaka.
And the fact that Rey Mysterio in 2006 goes the distance, the longest time ever in a Royal Rumble, the little guy, the ultimate underdog, in honor of Viva la Raza,
That's
Eddie
right.
Guerrero.
That's right.
Rey Mysterio taking down Orton in the 06 Rumble because he's my guy. It's one of my favorite wrestlers, my favorite guy of all time. He comes in number 06 because of the exact opposite reasons, because I was rooting for him to win it all.
Not on my list. I want to make 2 points, though.
Are you going to shit on Ray? Are you going to do it?
Yes.
I'm going to make a joke. No.
Oh, God. Not
yes
anything.
and no, though.
It's President Trump, so be careful now, okay?
Whoa! First,
Ray gets to stay.
Okay, Ray will be staying.
he's been here long enough. It's kind of hard to throw Ray over when his head doesn't even hit the
Don't
top
do
rope.
that to Ray.
There's work overseas.
2, though, man, that should have been Chavo.
Come on, Vinny. They're never going to put Chavo over in the Rumble.
Hear me out, though. Okay, no, don't put Chavo over. He did get over in the Rumble. I'm just saying. But the thing is, I get why they did it with Ray. Ray is mainstream. More people know him. More people are going to get behind him. He's more believable. But Chavo is the dude's nephew. You can't even, in 06, give the dude a run with, like, the IC strap or the U.S. title.
No. Plain and simple, no.
The fans
Thank
would have
you,
loved it. No. Anyway, that got Chavo bitter, and that's why Chavo left. And Chavo is a good wrestler either way, so whatever.
He's fine. I really liked this Rumble. I considered putting it on it because I remember where and when I was watching it. I was in my buddy's basement, and which is like classic. And the run that he went on, and they kept on referencing, hey, the time he's been there been in there over 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and the Rumble, like we've always thought the conventional wisdom dating back to Big John Studd, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, it was like, how are they going to eliminate this big guy? Who's going to beat Andre? Andre was Heenan's always his pick to win the Rumble. But there we saw the little guy go nearly wire to wire. Pretty sweet.
Tig, number 3 on your list.
All right, number 3, you guys might be surprised, but it sticks out for me, probably because it was just last year.
Oh, wow.
The Rumble 2016, Triple H beating Dean Ambrose for the title. For
Okay.
It
14th
wasn't a
time.
bad Rumble.
I thought it was great. It went just over an hour. It was like an hour and a minute and such seconds. But Dean Ambrose and Triple H going back and forth. I was all about Triple H winning that one. And it was just an exciting match for me. And it was exciting seeing those two go at it. It was back and forth. You thought maybe Dean was going to get it. Maybe it was going to be Triple H. But Triple H took it out, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed last year's Rumble.
And see, with me, I was talking to you about this last year, guys.
Mm-hmm.
They were struggling prior to that to do anything good with Reigns until they had Sheamus cash in. And they had this heel that nobody liked. And they had him go over him. That was the right thing to do. Have him attack Triple H when Triple H, which shockingly, that got him over at first. The problem was they should have left it at that. Triple H coming back here, though, I didn't see it coming. It made sense. It was a good storyline. I was happy for it. I changed my cover photo on Facebook to Triple H with the belt. Wow. So I can't really complain.
There is no further validation, folks.
So it belongs at 3.
And Styles debuted. And Styles debuted there, too.
I love the Styles debut. Last year, I don't know if I was becoming one of the people who were, and I love the Rumble, if I was becoming the over-critic, like we saw with the Batista win, and we saw with the Reigns win, like it became cool to boo the Rumble that year.
Right, yeah.
So
right.
everyone was doing it. And I agree with you, Vinny, where it's like, did they have to have the belt on the line? But having the belt on the line and having Triple H come out made the Rumble really, real cool that year.
Yeah, but
I'm just not a Triple H guy, and so that's why I wasn't a fan of it. I wanted a younger guy to win it like Ambrose. If Ambrose would have won, I would have
having
flipped.
the belt on the line, though, you know what? I think it added a little bit to it because you see Reigns in there. Number 30 is about to come out. You're like, oh, damn it, he's actually going to win. And then Triple H comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So if it wasn't for the title, I don't think that would have made a difference. One, Reigns wouldn't have been in it. So
True.
All right.
Mr. Zach Bye, number 3 on your list.
Number 3 was the 2008 return of Cena, which I crossed off. Would you like me to go to number 2, or have you not did your third yet, Vinny?
I have not done my third
All right,
yet.
let's
Why
do
don't you
number
fire
3.
away?
So number 3 for me, we're going back to just after the invasion had happened.
Ooh.
2002. A lot of cool things in this year for me. I mean, I was 11, but I knew all the old wrestlers, and I'm like, yes, Mr. Perfect is coming back. And then I'm like, yes, Goldust is coming back. Then I'm like, oh my God, The Godfather and Val Venus are coming back. And then it starts off, I think it started off Goldust and Rikishi. And I'm like, if he stink faces Goldust, he's going to have a gold ass.
Did he?
I don't recall if he did, but man, the nostalgia I believe that was the first pay-per-view I had ever actually gotten to see on TV, and I absolutely love that Rumble. Kurt Angle in it too, his first Rumble, which hopefully he returns this year. Man, there's something about it. I don't know what it is. I can watch that thing over and over and over again. Atlanta, Georgia. Oh, Maven.
Oh, the shocking
Drop kicking Undertaker over just to get smashed into a popcorn thing up in the rotunda up there.
Yeah.
And then Taker grabbing the popcorn, eating it.
O2 Lesnar.
I'm so nostalgic.
It sounds like a bunch of gimmicks to me, Vinny.
Yeah.
Whatever.
O2 Lesnar wins.
No, 0-2 was Triple H.
Triple H wins the Rumble that year. The Maven elimination alone in that Rumble has defined the Rumble. Every year we see, because that is still the most shocking. If anyone else can think of one, I'm
You
willing
don't
to
do
hear
it to Taker.
You're saying the Maven elimination of Taker,
Taker,
probably the most shocking.
Some rookie off of Tough Enough taking down the legend in a Rumble. Crazy.
Yeah. Wow. You say is Rikishi gonna stink face Goldust? Is it a stink face if the stink is invited by the face?
Goldust 96 wouldn't have minded.
I'm going to move on to O2 and my number 2. I kind of want to talk not about 2 with Rikishi and Goldust's face, just 2. 2005 Batista versus Cena at the end. When I think about the 2005 Royal Rumble, it feels like the perfect Rumble to me because you have the new star versus the new star. And the Rumbles over the years said, okay, if you win the Rumble, you're going to go on to Mania, fight for the championship. And a lot of times the belt changes hands at Mania and you start your career as being the new face of the company. In 05, you had Batista versus Cena, SmackDown versus Raw. You had a feeling one of these guys was going to win. And at that time, I'm rooting for both guys because they're both faces at the time, even though kind of Cena's working like a heel thing, but like an old school Austin. And Batista goes for the elimination, and they both flip over and land at the same exact time, and it wasn't supposed to happen. Batista was supposed to win, and you couldn't even make that up. The unpredictability of the Royal Rumble, that's what it is. 5, 4, 3. And then seeing it actually happen at the end, and then McMahon comes out, blows out his quads. For me, it's a perfect
right, he blew out
Rumble.
the quads.
2005 is number 2 on my list.
Why do you think I put the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the intro? I'm just saying.
For the Royal
Ding,
Rumble.
ding, ding.
Right.
Nice job.
But you know what? That one was so good. By the way, Cena was working as a face then.
He was.
Batista was the heel.
Really?
Batista.
Oh, he's in Evolution. Thank you.
But
You're right.
he was defying it. Anyway, that Rumble, I struggled. I wanted that on my list. I could not put it there, but man, that was a close one. That easily could have been my number 5. That was a very good match.
By the way, Vince blowing out his quads was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in
They're
wrestling.
just sitting in the ring.
Felt so bad for him, but he comes in. I'm watching it happen. I'm like all of you, I'm sure. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? We didn't realize the seriousness of that injury till later. And then you watch it on YouTube. Now I probably watched that 1,000 times.
I just love the refs pleading their case, looking down like.
Chaos,
very
mayhem,
awkward,
love
strange moment.
Cena was scared that he was going to get fired by Vince after that.
Right.
He was scared, and Vince's like, it was perfect.
Dude, that was pretty good Vince, by the way.
Yeah, that was pretty good, Vince.
Number 2 for you, take on your list.
Number 2, we go to the USF Sundome in Tampa. Now, I remember
Look at you with the arenas.
I figured I'd throw the arenas in there if I could. Memories of going down to Florida, visiting grandparents and all, passing that big the big arena, whatever it is, and being like, I want to see wrestling there. I didn't get to see this one there, but I just remember seeing that place. But this, of course, is Rumble 95. This is Shawn Michaels entering first and eventually winning over Davey Boy Smith, British Bulldog. And this is where the one foot hits the ground, the other one's dangling.
Classic.
I think Raw, they were showing footage of that, right?
Yeah.
Last week.
That's the first time it happened.
And Davey Boy Smith was number 2 in that Rumble. So the first two wins were the last two to be out there. And they actually hit Davey Boy's music. I mean, he was announced the winner. He was standing up. The music had hit.
You know what? I vaguely remember that. They did.
And that's how Michaels eliminated him. He's standing up on the middle rope. His music is playing. He's celebrating, and Michaels dumps him
that was right.
over the top.
Okay.
That nearly made my list. And probably if I was going to be honest about like the chords of my wrestling heartstrings, that was in that sweet spot year where I was totally obsessed, and it made such an impression on me. The only reason I didn't put it on my list, and first of all, Michaels is brilliant in that, but it did not live up to the longevity of some of the other guys who went on great runs. That was the only year they changed it to 60 seconds instead of a minute and a half. So Michaels goes wire to wire. But I remember the match itself was under 40 minutes long.
Yeah, 38 minutes, I believe.
Is that okay? And I remember even being younger and being like, "Damn, that didn't feel like last year's Rumble."
Something about it being an hour. It's just you don't want to watch a match like we were saying a couple weeks ago with the Iron Man match. I don't like to watch it because I know it's going an hour. I don't care with the Rumble because I mean it's 30 guys coming in. Just saying.
Yeah, I love that wire to wire Rumble, and that's truly Michaels had been put over with the IC title and been put over with the feud with Diesel when their tag team broke up, and they were tag team champions. But he didn't really get put over until that moment. When you win a Rumble, that's why I disagree that Chavo should never won a Rumble, because
I don't think he should have won the Rumble. I'm not saying that so much.
I understood what the point
he
you were trying
should have had a bigger
to make.
presence in the Rumble.
Trying to take a shot at Ray. We get what you're saying.
That's why, like I look at.
Have you seen him recently? I don't want to take any shots at him. He's freaking jacked.
Well, I believe that a guy who wins the Rumble should be a star or a soon-to-be star, and Michaels certainly was that. And that was like one of his big coming-out parties.
I'm kicking myself for not putting that on my list.
Same thing for Diesel, too, in 94, big coming-out party.
Yeah, like the 95 Rumble, and I know I gave credit to Ray a second ago for like the greatest performance ever, but what if Michaels screws up that spot? We had never seen a spot like that before in Rumble history ever, where it's incredible athleticism to do what he does in that moment and to time it up so perfectly with the camera. Like, he could have easily, oh my God, I'm going to slip. Like, I have to put my second foot down and, like, dance with it, and he didn't.
See,
and he made it work.
I think maybe that's why they did it with Bulldog, because they could have easily put Bulldog into that spot. I mean,
that's not a bad point.
Or they could have on Raw had a match. Michaels was a heel, Bulldog was a face. They could have done something there. But still, Bulldog, when they do those kind of spots, I have a feeling they do it that way. Hey, if he messes up, hey, all right, well, we'll take care of it.
We're going to figure it out. But they trusted the company's storyline and future moving forward and his raw athleticism to make that play, if you will.
Number 2 on your list, Zach.
Yes, number 2 on my list. This is an all-time great. The 1990 Royal Rumble. And this is remembered. There's a lot of just classic faces in this Rumble, like classic, legendary Hall of Fame figures. But the reason that it's remembered is the showdown between Warrior and Hogan.
Yes.
And Warrior enters at 21. Hogan enters at 25. And they're both taking care of business separately. And Hogan's handling his against the bad guys, and Warrior's handling his against the bad guys. And it eventually comes down where Warrior eliminates Michaels, and there's no one left in the ring. And it's almost like it's the first random stare down I remember that made that sort of impression on me. And I know there was probably some in the past, maybe with Andre and Hogan or whatever, but 1990, when they just kind of happenstance meet and Warrior's face paint is already peeled off, and they have this powerhouse moment where Warrior goes to clothesline Hogan and nobody moves. And Ventura literally says, and Warrior goes, and nobody moves. And then Hogan bounced across the rope and hit him with the clothesline, and nobody moves. And then they did the crisscross pattern when they both hit different ropes and they don't hit each other. Warrior ducks and they do a double clothesline and both knock each other down. It was like that immovable object against the unstoppable force. And of course, it's a preview of WrestleMania 6. But that one to me was just unbelievable, and one that I hold in the very highest regard.
That so could have made my list. You're bringing up a great. I should have actually put that on my list, maybe instead of the first Rumble, number 5. But great one. Yep, it just stands out as a young kid. 1990. I was what was I in 7th grade? I've been a wrestling fan for so many years, and I remember that sticks out in my mind. The double clothesline, and just the two of them. Everybody wanted to see that.
Yeah, everyone's
everybody
on their
wanted to
feet.
see Hogan and Warrior.
It felt like
going
a good.
at it.
It felt like a good secret, right? That everyone knew in wrestling, but like kind of talked about, like how cool would it be if Hogan and Warrior got in the ring together, and like you never saw it, like you're getting at, it, and then like it happened. Oh, they knew, like it was a secret. You guys knew what I wanted to. It's like a good Christmas gift that like you didn't think you would ever get, but you finally get it
because Mom couldn't afford it.
Right, and it finally happened. In
I
the
think
ring.
I
That's a great
actually got
moment.
the Ultimate Warrior jacket for Christmas that year.
Right.
You do.
The windbreaker
I
with
had
The big face in the back.
What was the doll?
Yeah.
Not the
Wrestle Buddies.
Wrestle
Yeah, the
Buddies.
Wrestle
Buddies.
Yeah.
There's a moment in the beginning of this pay-per-view where they sort of foreshadow this obtusely, but they foreshadow it. Warrior's cutting a promo, and he's got the perfect paint, and he's got the yellow background on the IC title, and he's calling out 28 guys. And you know there's 30. And he goes, 28 guys. 20. And then at the end, and he goes, but the 29th man, he's like, you, Hulk Hogan. He goes, you travel with a different force field around you.
Oh my God, you can do a Warrior?
He goes,
What a
he goes,
save.
awesome.
He totally saved that interview.
He
with that.
goes, what does he say? He goes, he's like, you have been to the horizons that are close to the ones that I've been to. And I'm just like, oh shit, you are the man. And then the last part I have to mention about this. This is kind of what I thought put an undercurrent as to why Warrior got more of the applause at WrestleMania in Toronto, because at the Royal Rumble, Rick Rude and the Barbarian go to eliminate Hogan, and Warrior saves Hogan.
That's right.
And then the same two combination of Barbarian and Rude, like a minute later, go to eliminate Warrior, and Hogan comes from behind and hits him with the clothesline and sort of pseudo assists in the Warrior's elimination. And it was like, oh, like, did Hogan do that on purpose?
Yes.
Did he have it out for the Warrior? It's just a great one for me.
See, so my number 2 was a by God moment in 2001. So I want to make one point as to why I actually don't have any of the early Rumbles on my list, at least the very early ones. Mainly, nothing was really on the line for some of them. Like 90, good match, very good match, loved it. But there wasn't anything really there. I mean, because Hogan won it, and he was the champion. The same thing with Duggan. He won it on a TV special. Was there anything on the line in that, Tig? To your memory?
I don't believe so.
Maybe a title match, an Intercontinental title match, something like that. But 89.
But you know what, Vinny? Keep in mind I think the age factor. With your
yes,
age,
and we've
probably
spoken
definitely-
about that a lot.
What
Definitely
award
falls-
did the Mona Lisa win? Can't we appreciate great art?
I told you it was good. Jesus.
When was the first? And I feel bad for not knowing this. When was the first Rumble? They said, hey,
I'm sorry.
they said first one to win this gets a title shot.
I think that was 93. Well, 93 was the first time it happened.
93.
93?
Yeah,
Okay.
93. That was the first year.
No,
I'm pretty
actually,
sure.
91 Hogan, but that wasn't from winning the Rumble. It was, but that wasn't.
For all rights and purposes, I think 93 is looked
With
at as the
Yoko.
first year that the winner of the Rumble advances to WrestleMania with a shot at the title.
But my number 2 was 2001. We've said a lot about that, and I loved it. So on to you guys.
We may all have the same number 1. Is that what I'm
I
getting
have
at
a
here?
very good feeling we
Could
do,
it
and
be?
Tig's not going to ruin it this time.
I think we all have the same number 1. Are we talking about 1992 with Ric Flair at the
Aye,
Knickerbocker
aye.
Arena?
Aye, Captain.
Whoever wants to start can
Hey.
start, because I feel like I'm going to pick it up at the end. Tig, I'm going to let you go for this.
Who was there? Were we all there? Or no?
I was not there.
Tig, I was like 4 months
okay.
old.
Tig, were you there?
I was there.
Tig was there, so we'll let you start. You saw it in high definition.
This is number 1. Yep,
It was
high
92.
definition.
Not high definition.
The only thing I missed was Heenan at the play-by-play booth. I wish I could have heard when Flair wins this.
Yes,
funny.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
He
I
went
told
nuts.
you. Yes, I told you. Yes,
Brilliant.
yes.
Gotta love the brain. I mean, So it was, Albany Knickerbocker Arena back at the time. We just passed the 25th anniversary.
That's right.
Just last week. Great memories of being there. Huge Flair fan, so I was very happy for him. The match was great. But also, I want to point out, also on the card, a big fan of Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper winning the IC title from the Mountie.
From the Mountie, yep.
That was also on there.
Yes.
So,
and it was for the title.
But this was, and it was for the
It was
title.
for the title. It meant more than ever. It became, I felt like, larger than life. Like, that's when the title wasn't really transitioning a lot. I mean, if you held the title, you held it for a year, maybe two.
Yep.
And it was like, wait, no one owns the title right now. Whoever comes out of this thing, and it couldn't have been Flair because he came in number 3. If you come in number 3, you can't win it.
And Sid throwing Hogan over.
Yes.
And then Hogan pulling on to Sid's arm. And then Flair just going out and scooping him right over. And the crowd was going nuts. They were happy, they were happy to see it.
And Flair was still relatively new in the scene at that time in the WWF, right? He had just debuted a few weeks earlier with the big gold belt, and people are like, oh, who's this new, not new guy, but right. Oh, was it really months?
Yeah, he
See,
did.
The WWF makes it seem like it was just
There's
weeks
a house
before.
show from the Garden on the network from October of '91 where he's coming out with the big gold belt. Blurred
That was
out,
awesome,
blurred
by
out,
the way.
but he's fighting Piper.
Blurred out, that's right.
They blurred the belt.
Titles
If you
so
watch
good.
Survivor Series 91 when he comes out, he's holding up a tag team title. And they're just
Really?
blacking it out. I'm like, why do that? Why even black
I
it?
heard that they did that, but I thought that whole thing with Flair coming
that
over
was
with
amazing.
the title, what was it, the NWA title?
That
at
was
the
big
time, or
gold.
was that the WCW?
No, that was NWA at the time.
Yes, NWA at
it
the
was
time.
kind of where they were transitioning
Yeah, they're
NWA to
transitioning to
WCW.
WWE.
As a kid, seeing the Ric Flair coming over to the WWF with the NWA title on television, it was just like
it didn't compute.
it was crazy.
Hey,
No, it
Flair
was-
had
yeah, it was-
every
but-
right.
But the blurring out, the blurring out. I was like, why are they blurring that? I
Right.
remember as a kid, I was like, why
Right.
are they blurring that?
It feels a little bit like the precursor to the NWO years later, because it's saying the invasion angle. Are
Yep.
you supposed to be? Is this real? Is it
Same
not
belt.
real? That's the same belt.
Well, and another dimension of this that I'd be remiss if we didn't hit is that was one of the main concerns from Vince McMahon in fall of 1997, that the fear was that Bret Hart's contract was up, and if you let him win against Shawn Michaels in Montreal at Survivor Series, that he was going to show up on
Yes.
Nitro with the world title, and under no circumstance he instructed them backstage, under no circumstance is he to leave the ring with the title.
That whole thing was crazy. Henceforth, the Montreal screw job.
Right,
but that was
right.
just insane.
But there's a precedent for that fear from
Yeah.
Vince
Yeah.
that, like, we can't let this happen. Our company is going to get smeared to a level that you can't get back.
And I don't think we even
Like
have time
they had done.
Right, I don't think we have time to go through the all-star cast in that Rumble. I mean,
Oh,
it's just
wow.
legend on
Yeah.
legend on
So
legend on legend on
good.
legend on legend.
So good. And lest we forget, Heenan abandons his post as color and appears in the post-match interview
Yep.
with
Mr.
Flair and
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yep.
And he's in the back just pacing around. I told you he was coming.
With a tear in my eye.
tear
To the great
in
promos
my
of all time.
Man, I tell you, I miss Heenan.
That's our Rumble list right there. Some great stuff coming from everybody. We all had the same number one. But before we talk about next week's topic, Vinny, you got some stuff involving this year's Rumble matches.
Oh yeah, remember the Rumble? I'm pretty excited because the Alamo Dome. I'm wondering because Roman had said on Raw 40,000 people. I'm hoping they sell it out because that would just look better. But what I want to do, I want to run through some of these matches because you know what? We wouldn't be a reputable podcast as we are if we didn't make some predictions. So I'm not positive which is on the pre-show or not. So let's just rapid fire through them all. We'll spend a little bit of time on the Rumble though. So Cesaro, Sheamus versus Gallows and Anderson. It's for the WWE Tag Titles, Raw Tag Titles, and 2 refs are assigned to the match.
You want to go this way, me, Tig, and then Zach?
Yeah, let's do that.
Gallows and Anderson probably have this match wrapped up. I don't get the Cesaro Sheamus thing. I'm going with Gallows and Anderson.
Tig?
I'm gonna agree.
I'm going to agree. I wish Cesaro would get put over more. He's got the most perfect torso I've ever seen.
Think about it.
That's going on a blooper reel. I also am going with Gallows and Anderson. They did all those feuds with New Day. They lost. They got to win this one. Next up, I have a feeling this is also the pre-show, but Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, straight up singles match.
I don't get the point of Nia Jax losing this match. I think Sasha's going to win. I'll take Sasha, but why not have a DQ with somewhere in this finish to make them both look good?
Tig?
Sasha.
Going with Sasha.
I'm actually going with Nia because Sasha's been on kind of a losing streak, and if you want to make Nia look dominant, I don't think she's going to be in the main event. The main event of the women. So I'm going to go with Nia, keep her strong, get her ready for maybe Bayley after WrestleMania. Number 3, we are moving on to some of the title matches. Let's go with the Cruiserweight title match of Rich Swann and Neville.
Neville is the heel. Neville's the only one who's kind of making... I have a whole issue. We could do a whole podcast about the Cruiserweights. My love of the Cruiserweights. Neville wins just so he's making it relevant.
Yeah, Neville being a heel now, he's got some fire in him.
Neville.
I mean, he's definitely going to go over better as a heel than he was as a babyface, I would have to say.
Neville.
So I think Neville.
Neville.
And for me, I'm also going Neville because you know what? That belt hasn't meant something yet. I'm thinking that maybe that Neville could do that.
Stop making the ropes purple. Can we do that?
Yes,
stop
please.
Doing it. Why are they purple?
Please. All right. Next up, we're going to the women's title match on Raw. We have got Charlotte and Bayley.
Charlotte will never lose again ever. She'll lose again in 2030. Charlotte, undefeated forever. Better than Taker.
Charlotte.
Better than Taker. I'm going Charlotte.
I'm also going Charlotte. I think they're going to save that maybe the Bayley win until Mania. Charlotte, I do think will possibly lose at Mania.
Never.
I forgot this. It's got to be on the pre-show, though. Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella, and Naomi against Bliss, James, and Natalya.
Give me the one with Mickie James on her team with Bliss because she's back and it doesn't make sense if she loses.
Good point.
I'm going to go with the Bliss because she's smoking hot.
Yeah, she is.
I don't think I would have a whole podcast of space to articulate how little I care about this.
Just watch it and
I'll go with the team with Mickie James and no Bellas. I'm over the Bellas.
Somewhere in the future, we're going to have a podcast. Zach's going to talk about women's wrestling. I'm going to talk about the cruiserweights. 'Cause we're so different on some of these things. And Tig's going to talk 1980s wrestling. We're going to have
I'm going to join you in that.
college
bro.
dissertations. We're going to
awesome.
write on this stuff. Our deep passions.
I would also go with that team. Originally, I was going to go with Becky because she's been on a losing streak, but you know what? It'll just fire her up even more if Alexa wins.
You also have a major crush on Becky.
I do. So you know what? I just hope she gets like a victory roll up where her tights get pulled. Anyway,
hello.
So next matchup: AJ Styles, John Cena, WWE title.
I really want Styles to win. I think his debut was awesome last year, but it seems like it's going to be Cena. 16 at the Rumble, a marquee pay-per-view. Cena wins. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cena too.
Give me AJ Styles for the upset.
I'm going Styles as well because I have a feeling they're still going to go with possibly Cena Taker, and I don't think it's going to be for the belt. I'd hope not. And if Cena was though to win, it's tough. But I'm going to go with Styles. I feel like if Cena was going to win the belt, it should be at Mania. So, a lot's going to happen in the next 2 months, but I go with Styles. No DQ match, Chris Jericho in a cage, which Chris Salamico, I love that on Raw. It's going to be Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, Universal title.
I really feel like this is another time where Reigns should win. I have a theory. I think it's going to talk about the Rumble match. Kevin Owens is going to figure out a way to win this match. I'm going to go with Owens, and it's going to lead to something I'm going to talk about next.
I'm going to go with Owens, too. I'm thinking interference from somebody, with it being a no DQ match, maybe even Braun Strowman. Somebody's going to come in there and interfere in Kevin Owens' favor.
I like Kevin Owens in this one, too. I think if Cena wins, you're going to have a revolt in San Antonio.
Yeah, okay. And with me, I also go Owens, but
Wow,
I think that we're going to go to the same place here, guys. I feel like Owens is going to win. And I think it would be a good idea for Reigns too, because I don't know, Owens seems flat to me. But the star of this match is going to be Jericho. And I think it's going to lead to a WrestleMania match. Jericho and Owens for the
Jericho would have to
title.
cost Owens or something in this space or through the cage. Something weird. Like, take a second. Something weird's going to happen in this match. It's
He's
gonna
going to
set
drop
something
a
up for
scarf
Mania.
down or something. It's going to hit Reigns, and I don't know.
Right.
It's going to knock him out. The scarf's going to knock Reigns out.
It's going to cover his
Drink it
eyes,
in,
pop
man.
up power
Drink it
bomb.
in.
Drink it in.
You just made the list. All right, big daddy of them all. Well, that's Mania, but still, we're going on to the Royal Rumble match. I'm going to quickly name off who is in it, and we're going to make our picks. So we got Goldberg, Lesnar, Big E, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Jericho Strowman, Corbin, Undertaker, Ambrose Miz, Ziggler Cesaro, Sheamus Wyatt, Orton Harper, Big Show, Sami Zayn, Big Cass, Rusev, and Mojo Rawley. There are 8 spots empty as of today.
I wish I could go to Vegas right now and place this investment because I'd like the guys' odds. Like if we're doing Super Bowl picks in sports, this is where like a middle-of-the-road person. It just sounds wild. I feel like I'm the only one on this island. I'm probably dumb with it, but here's my theory. Kevin Owens wins the title over Reigns in the match. But they don't want to have Kevin Owens in the main event at Mania. They just don't think he's ready. Now, whatever, they didn't do it with Punk. I don't believe they're going to do Owens yet. They have Ambrose win the Rumble, old school style, where they let him pick what title he wants to go for. He goes against Owens at WrestleMania. Ambrose, Owens at Mania. I'm actually taking Dean Ambrose as a long shot here. 20-1 on the board, like horse racing. Give me Ambrose.
Oh, it's definitely going to be Big E. I mean, no, definitely not.
You've been eating those bootios?
I don't know how this is going to go, actually. I've thought about it. I don't know how the hell it's going to go, but I'm going to go with my man Brock Lesnar.
All right. He would be a repeat offender because he won at 1990.
No,
excuse me, 2005.
2003.
I'm going to go with Goldberg. I hope it's somewhere in his rider when he signed back on. He says, remember when he came back, he says, I have one more run in me. I think that an undercurrent, they've been known to make bad decisions. I think having him win the Rumble would be a bad decision, and I think he wins the Rumble. Give me Goldberg.
So for me, I've struggled with this. I've talked in the past. I thought Sami Zayn would be a good pick. Nobody agreed with me, but I think it'd be great to see a 40-minute match between Zayn and Owens at Mania. I'm not picking Zayn, but he's got some good momentum going in. I'm actually going to pick, you know what, Braun Strowman. I'm picking Braun Strowman because they've been doing everything right with that character. But the thing I'm curious about is,
I think it's too little, too late, though.
No,
I think
no, I don't think. I don't think
is
that
Braun Strowman a star?
Not yet. I think he's got the potential, but I think that he's got a monster look. And the one thing I'm just curious about is what would happen, because you know what? I don't see him facing Owens. I don't see him going over to SmackDown and facing Styles. That'd be stupid. So if he wins, how's this? If Owens wins, I don't think it's going to be Strowman, but man, it is hard to find a winner here. But I would like to see Strowman possibly say, you know what, screw the titles, I want Taker.
Is a Giant ever won the Rumble? Besides Taker, I guess.
I don't think so.
A big guy is always just
John
there to
Stud.
Big
John
John
Stud, that's right.
That's
right.
about it. That's about it. But I hope they don't put Strowman in there because
I don't want to see Strowman.
He doesn't
winning
have star power. If we're going to do it based on look, let's bring back Bobby Lashley and have him win the title.
That's interesting.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
It's interesting you bring that up
You
because
are on drugs.
we're so against who could it be? Who could be the winner at the end? Because this is what it feels like the Rumble needs. And Tig brought this up a bit earlier, that Triple H wins it and the crowd's into it. Who would win the Rumble that San Antonio would be on the side for? Shawn Michaels?
Michaels.
Who would have to win it for the crowd to go nuts?
You really got to think, though, too. As I said, 8 spots empty. There's probably going to be some NXT call-ups. And
please, Kurt Angle, come back and win this.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking that.
Angle would get the biggest pop of anybody if he won. It really would be Angle.
I have heard, though, that they're thinking of doing Styles and Joe for the belt at Mania. What if Joe makes his debut? Yeah. Dude's 38. He's got to go somewhere quick. What better way to launch a guy?
Debut at 38. That should just on its face value should let you know
Sloppy Joe.
He did dark
Sloppy
matches
Joe.
in 2002.
Sloppy Joe.
He's already debuted, but no, dude is awesome. He was killing it in NXT. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea, but it's going to be believable.
Catch you next week on As the Heel Turns podcast with a new topic. Make sure to follow us on 1045team.com and Q103. We'll talk to you again next week.
As the heel turns.